United States, Ukraine signed memorandum on minerals deal. This is the first topic we talk about. And the second is Paris, talks on Ukraine that signals European role in ceasefire negotiations. Good afternoon, my name is Henry Keane and we are, as usual, UATV English-speaking Ukrainian state media in constant persuasion to deliver hard truth in easy terms. For you, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. The United States and Ukraine have signed a memorandum of understanding on a minerals deal that yet is to be finalized, Deputy Prime Minister and Economic Minister Yulia Sviridenko said on April 17th. American and Ukrainian negotiators have made what they call significant progress in talks on a mineral deal, which will be concluded in the near future. Sviridenko said a day earlier on April 16th, and delegations from the two sides obviously met in Washington on April 11th and 12th to work out the details of the long-debated deal. But today we talk just a different theme, a step towards a joint economic partnership agreement with the United States. Ukraine and the United States of America signed a memorandum which demonstrates the constructive joint efforts of our teams and the intention to finalize and conclude an agreement that will be beneficial to both of our peoples. That was said by Economic Minister Yulia Sviridenko. Well, of course, work needs to be done to finalize the text of the agreement, followed by the actual signing of the agreement, and then agreement needs to be also ratified by two parliaments, both countries, America and Ukraine. A Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund will be created and the agreement will open up opportunities for significant investments, infrastructure modernization and a mutually beneficial partnership between Ukraine and the United States. The agreement has been in the works for several months and has been a point of contention between Ukraine and the United States. President Vladimir Zelensky and US President Donald Trump got into what we call quite a heated argument in the White House on when the deal was set to be signed by the two leaders. It is important that we reaffirm through our agreements the desire of the American people to invest together with the Ukrainian people in a free, sovereign and secure Ukraine, Sviridenko says. And also Trump told reporters on April 17 that Ukraine and the US could sign a minerals deal as early as already on April 24th. We have a minerals deal, which I guess is going to be signed next Thursday, Trump said during a press conference with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni in the White House. Trump wants to use the deal as a signal that US stands firmly with Ukraine as an economic partner on rare earth minerals, and US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that in an interview released on April 4th, adding that it would incentivize Russia to negotiate an end to its war against Ukraine. Well, how on rare earth they in the Trump administration actually keep their current levels of naivety, I wonder. Maybe that's given. Maybe it's a pharmacy of sorts, a drug that keeps you high enough and completely detached from reality on the ground. Oh, don't get me wrong, amen to all what the Treasury Secretary and Donald Trump say at the moment, but I'm sorry, to incentivize Russia? For what exactly? For killing only a dozen of Ukrainian children last week and not more? And the incentive itself, that is, what exactly? American investments in Ukrainian minerals, right? Well, I hate to break it to the Treasury Secretary like that, but if I'd be Putin, I'd sign the peace deal, then I'd wait for a year or so to let Americans and Ukrainians do the work. For me, all that geological research and evaluations, building new mines, putting high-tech and efficient machinery there, and then I'd invade Ukraine again. And I'd invade and I'd take all they have built as an incentive, the incentive maybe even, and then negotiate just a new deal with Donald Trump if he wants it all back. Maybe even sending him another flattering portrait of his or something, just to incentivize America. Ceasefire talks among European, Ukrainian and US officials for the first time signal Europe's role at the negotiating table. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot says about that in Paris, April 17th. The US has largely shut Europe out of Ukraine peace talks, raising alarm amongst European officials and pushing Europe to work its way back to the negotiating table. A Paris meeting was held on April 17th to discuss security guarantees for Ukraine. Barrot noted officials from all three sides have agreed to regroup in London next week to continue discussions regarding security guarantees for Ukraine and an actual ceasefire. These very open, very frank discussions will have made it possible to advance the thinking of the Europeans, the Ukrainians and the Americans who have agreed to meet next week in London to continue discussions, Barrot says. We can hope in the very near future to achieve a full and complete unconditional ceasefire to which the Ukrainians have already agreed and to which we hope Russia will agree in return, Barrot adds. While United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff were in Paris for the high-level meetings on ending the war in Ukraine, the two US officials were joined by Presidential Office head Andriy Yermak, Foreign Minister Andrei Sybiha and Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. For a long time, we feared that the Europeans would not be around the table. Well, today, it is in Paris that the Europeans, the Americans and the Ukrainians have met for the first time, Barrot says. The United States has led separate talks also with Ukraine and Russia in Saudi Arabia to reach a ceasefire. On April 6, Zelensky said Russia is rejecting an unconditional ceasefire because it wants to obviously continue launching missile strikes from the Black Sea. And this is exactly what Russia wants, right? I mean, don't believe me? No worries. Just come over to Ukraine for yourself for just a week. Then we talk. Well, that's it for tonight. My name is Henry Keane and we are UATV English, an English-speaking Ukrainian state media, in a constant persuasion to deliver hard truth in easy terms for you, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. We ask you in return to like, share and comment. Your voice matters, as it in turn helps Ukrainian voice to be heard globally. So at the moment, thank you so very much and hope to talk to you soon. Goodbye.